Hello and welcome to the Candlelight Podcast, where I, Mohamed Abdalla, talk about different topics, including some of my favorites, which are movies, martial arts, and philosophy. Guys, remember how last week I told you guys that I'm gonna start with quotes? Not necessarily start the episodes with quotes, the podcast episode. Rather, these quotes will just be there for us to maybe hopefully get some wisdom, get some insight, get some benefit out of every single podcast episode, besides just me just going on different tangents and rants. So today, actually, this week's quote is given to us by the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. I know this is a bit of a bit of a subject, really. It's Lao Tzu, one of the very well-known Chinese philosophers. But guess what? As much as I love philosophy, it's a very deep field with a lot to learn. There's so much to learn when it comes to the subject of philosophy. And I am somewhat with regret, I should say that I don't know much about Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher. Even though he's one of those, very well-known Chinese philosophers, and not only that, Lao Tzu is like the stereotypical image of an old Chinese sage who seems to have a monopoly on the wisdoms of the universe. That's the idea that comes to mind when I listen to his name, and because that's what the drawings of him on the internet I can find in books as well show. But I'm sad to say I haven't really read much of his material. I don't know what he's all about. I don't know much of his philosophy. I really don't know anything about him, come to think of it. What I do know is that I got this book. I got this little booklet called You Make Me Proud. And it was given to me by my lovely, lovely mother, who is just my whole entire world. She gave me this book just to express her pride in having me as her son. It sounds a bit arrogant, but that's not what I mean. She just gave me this book to really show me that she's proud of me, and I'm really, really, really thankful for that. Because one of the most important things in life is to make sure your parents are happy with you. At least make sure they're happy with you, if nothing else. And she gave me this book called "You Make Me Proud," and in this book, it's a bunch of quotes, and one of the quotes is Lao Tzu's quote, which I'm going to read to you in a second. But first, let me give you some context to this book, some more context. And so this book, I don't know why I said and, I'm supposed to say so. So this book is a bunch of quotes seemingly derived out of so many different people, not just philosophers, just different people who have had some sort of impact, some influence in history, such as, let's see here, Theodore Roosevelt, Confucius, Christina Aguilera. Well, there's that as well. But hey, so yeah, different people, the kind of let me just find some more that I recognize, because I don't recognize them. Steve Jobs, there you go. He was an influential person. Sophocles, the guy who wrote the story of Oedipus, or actually wrote the play, if I remember correctly. He didn't write the story. The story already existed for him. And Taylor Swift. Okay, so it's a mix of different quotes from many different people. And at the very beginning of the book, I'm not going to go through all the quotes. And oh, by the way, I'm going to use this book as one of my go-to references as to where I'm getting my quotes from. It's not going to be always from something that I hear randomly throughout the week. It's going to be also a bit structured. It's coming off from a source that I can rely on if I don't have a good quote for the week, if I just didn't listen to anything that I really caught my attention, And one of the very first quotes, I'm not gonna go through all of them. I'm just gonna use the ones that I like throughout, the episodes. And this happens to be the second quote in the book by Lao Tzu again, and it goes, and I quote, "Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power." So, a lot to unload here. That's a pretty heavy statement. What I like about it is that I guess it's true, because when you think about it, Mastering others is strength. Sure, you can, let's say, train in martial arts, something else that I do like, and maybe dominate your opponent or your interlocker, and you just basically impose your will upon them, and they can't do anything about it. That is strength. That is a form of strength. However, true power is mastering yourself, and I can't think of a better example than in the movie Braveheart. Spoiler alert for the movie Braveheart if you haven't seen it, which you should. So, oh, by the way, it's R-rated, so viewer discretion is advised. So, this movie is actually really captures this statement well. It really encapsulates it, really embodies it. Because, you can master others, like in the sense that you impose your will against them. You show your strength by dominating, which happens throughout the movie. The main character, William Wallace, essentially the good guy of the story, the protagonist, he does well in battles against his enemy. However, at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, again, he is captured by the enemy, and he no longer has his strength. His enemy holds him captive and tortures him in order to get him to basically yield and renounce all his claims to having independence, because William Wallace wants to make Scotland independent from England, and the English, when they captured him, wanted him to basically admit that the English king is the true king and Scotland is under the English banner. That's what they wanted him to basically admit. And this is where the second part of the quote comes in. Mastering yourself is true power. What we see from the beginning of the movie is that this character, this protagonist, this hero, William Wallace, has mastered his own will. He is a disciplined person. He's a person who is passionate, yet disciplined, and also very smart, and he always does the right thing to the best of his ability. He wants to do what is right, in this case, in the movie at least, which is to free Scotland from the English invaders. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to see his people free. He wants to see his people thriving. He doesn't want to see oppression and tyranny rule over them. And he mastered himself in basically training his mind, training his body to be the best, in the best shape they both can be, in order for him to be able to stand up against an enemy. Because you can't throw stones from a glass house. If you want to stand against opposition, you have to have a strong grounding. And in order to do that, you have to develop yourself as a character, develop your physical body, develop your mental health, and develop your soul. Be sure that you have a strong spirit. So this is really encapsulated in the very end of the movie, where William Wallace is being tortured, and they're demanding of him that he praises the king and renounces his claims to Scottish freedom. Something like that. And what he does instead is he denies to the very end, until they finally kill him, because they can't get him to yield. That's because even though he has lost his strength, he has not lost himself. Basically, he has the true power. He has mastered himself. He knows who he is. He's not yielding to their basically demands. And that's one of the things that really make me love that movie. And that's one of the reasons, that movie is just one of my, if not my very favorite movie of all time. So that's just a quote that really goes well with that movie's message, really. So I really would like to hear you guys' thoughts on this. And I really would like to have a discussion on any of these matters that I've discussed in the past episodes of this podcast, and this episode, and hopefully future episodes that I'll discuss. I really like to make this a back and forth between me and you guys. So, with that said, that was our quote for the week. Let's kind of jump into other stuff that I'm doing. Well, so for starters, I am getting ready for university. I am starting university hopefully this Sunday, and it's gonna be my second final semester before I hopefully graduate. Inshallah, I graduate, and I do it in good fashion and in style, because I really hope I make my parents proud again, because that's one of my main goals in this life before I leave. Before I leave this earth, I really want to make sure my parents are proud. Uh, I love them so dearly. They've done so much for me. And oh, I just hit the lamp right next to me. So hopefully I'll get my bachelor's of science degree in multimedia, which is what I'm studying. And I really hope people are benefited by the projects that I work on. That's really what I want to do, guys. I really just want to help benefit people in any way I can. That's my job here on earth. I really just want to help. I don't want to. I don't have. Ever since I was young, I've had a lot of things that I'd like to do in my mind. You know, a lot of jobs that I really like to pursue. A lot of careers that careers I'd like to pursue. Some of them being a filmmaker, being somewhat of a scientist in some way, being a policeman, being someone who really just in any possible way. What I really want to do is not really follow a certain job, a certain career. What I want to do is just help people in any way I can, and hopefully, I am provided an avenue to do that by Allah, and hopefully, I'll try to find the best way to do it. I really like to see what I can achieve in my pursuit of making other people's lives better, and that's really my goal, to just benefit people, make this world a better place, and yada yada cliche stuff. Anyway, so some of the things I've listened to this week, few different podcasts. The few different podcasts I listen to are obviously first and foremost, Joe Rogan podcast, which is the biggest podcast on the internet right now. It's the biggest. And who was the special? Oh yeah, yes, Undertaker. The Undertaker, the WWE superstar. The Undertaker was on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is bizarre because the Undertaker has never. Okay, first of all, the Undertaker was my very favorite wrestler ever since I was young. I've been watching the WWE. I've been watching professional wrestling for so long. I'm such a big fan. I used to be, at least, to the point that man, I really just loved everything they put out, almost everything they put out, and I really liked watching the matches. I really liked the storylines. I really liked the characters, and man, the Undertaker was my absolute favorite. He was my favorite by far, and he really didn't have that many interviews outside of, outside of character, because in professional wrestling they adopt gimmicks. They basically act as their characters. They're not really their characters. Someone like most of them are like that. All of them are like that. They don't even really hate each other, as we see on screen. It's just fake. We all know this. Why am I even telling you guys this? We all know this. We've known this for years. Anyway, so the Undertaker has never done many interviews outside of his character, and it's really bizarre. Ever since 2019, he's been starting to even open up more and more, and making different, booking different interviews, and explaining, basically, kind of reaching the age of retirement. He's retiring soon, or he has retired. We'll see. We'll see if he really has retired or if he's coming back. And he's just finally opening up about the whole journey he's been through. And man, is it crazy to see him basically just talk about what he has done throughout his life, and the hardships he faced, and all that he's done in order to reach superstardom. And it's kind of an inspiring inspiring story, rather. It's really just, it's one of those stories that really goes to show that, look, it's going to be ups and downs. No matter who tells you what, no matter what happens to you, you don't give up on yourself. You just keep working, keep grinding, keep trying the best that you can. Well, what am I trying to say? Yeah, I'm trying to say just put in your best effort, and really work smart, not only hard. Work smart and hard, and you'll get there eventually. You'll have to get there. There's no other way for you to go except for up. So it was a really inspiring story. And man, just to see the man behind the mask, well, in this case, the mask is the character, just speak so freely about everything. Man, it's really just amazing. So that was on the Joe Rogan's podcast, and that was really interesting. And another thing that, oh yes, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson has his own podcast. God bless Mike Tyson. He's wow, what a guy. And he has had Bill Burr on his podcast recently. It's Bill Burr is one of my favorite comedians. He's not the cleanest acts. He loves to really just let his mouth run and see what comes out of it. And man, he's really my guilty pleasure. Even though it's not something that I would recommend people to watch, something I myself like to watch. And he's a person that I really like. I listen to podcasts every now and then. And he's been on Mike Tyson's podcast and discussing stuff on many different stuff, ranging from, I guess, life, kids, and careers, and some stuff that are not really G-rated, so I'm not gonna talk about that. So that's the podcast. And this one more podcast, just one more, guys. This one's a bit under the radar, but it's called the Freshly Grounded Podcast, and it's a podcast made by people that I really enjoy listening to, because they're just a bunch of dudes who are chilling, talking about life, discussing events, discussing people, discussing social matters, discussing anything there is to discuss from an Islamic perspective. Because in this podcast, they're basically guys based out of London, England, who really just are Muslims, and just discussing worldly matters in a way that a Muslim should discuss them properly, in a digestible way, in an easy to understand way, and very polite and well spoken. Well, not necessarily well spoken, polite and refreshing way, I guess you could say. So I really enjoy listening to them. They have many different guests that are different speakers that I enjoy listening to, such as Muhammad Hijab, Yusha Evans, Tim Humble. So many different speakers, so many different brothers and sheikhs that are just really well established in what they do, whether it is da'wah, whether it is philosophy, whether it is teaching, whatever it is. I really enjoy listening to their insights and gaining more perspective, and really refreshing my soul by listening to people talk about what we need to hear, what we need to focus on in this world. So because it's really good for us Muslims to be reminded every now and again, if not every day, on how temporary this worldly life is, and how we're gonna hopefully enter Jannah after we die, and really just keeps us on track. Just keep us on track by having different reminders. Okay, so that was a few things that I listened to this week. I really enjoy podcasts. I'm starting my own podcast, as by getting inspired by different podcasts. So it's pretty cool. And let's see, what else is there? Oh my god. Yes, MMA. And the world of MMA. Oh boy, the world of MMA is very shook right now. You guys, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, Louisiana's own, has knocked out Conor McGregor. He knocked him out cold, slept him in the second round. Guys, I did not expect this at all. Look. I made my prediction. I was like, first 2 rounds, Conor is going to knock out Dustin. That's what I really thought. I gave a 70% chance of that happening for Conor, and 30% of chance of Dustin winning in some way, such as a decision or most probably a submission. But Dustin just knocked him out flat. He imposed an amazing game plan. Guys, the fight was awesome. That's the main event, by the way. I didn't even talk about the fight before. Let's actually step back and talk about the fight before, and then jump into the main event. All right. So what happened in the co-main event was fellow lightweights, the fellow lightweights of Conor and Dustin, Michael Chandler and Dan Hooker fought, and man, I expected Hooker to really ace in the striking department, while Chandler tries to pick him apart using a mixture of wrestling and striking. However, none of that happened at all. What happened was, in the first 2-3 minutes, Chandler knocked Hooker out cold. It was bad. He knocked him out bad, out cold. I can't. It was so fast. Me and my friend who were watching it, we couldn't believe our eyes. We just kind of screamed at the TV. It's like, oh my god, that just happened. Michael Chandler just imposed himself, and he got it done. Wow, at the highest level as well. So that was an amazing co-main, and we couldn't imagine how the main event would top this. But then the main event, just showed up. Man, Dustin Poirier. Oh, I'm so proud of that guy. God bless him. Oh man, Dustin knocked Conor McGregor out. No one has ever done that. Four different people have submitted Conor McGregor professionally. However, no one has ever knocked him out. But Dustin just did. I didn't even know. Wow. So this is what Dustin did. Sorry. This is what I think he did. This is what it seemed like. In the very first round, Dustin did not mind weathering a storm. Did not mind going through, some deep sea trouble. Because Conor is a striker rather, and he's a really good striker, and he will basically pepper your face with punches and just do that until he knocks you out. What Dustin did was amazing. From the very get-go, he took down Conor McGregor to set the tone that there are and there might be takedowns in this fight. There will probably be takedowns in this fight, so you have to watch out for those as well. Instead of just Dustin's hands and kicks. So he takes him down, then gasses his arms by kind of making Conor lift his body weight and Dustin's weight as well, and then they go into the clinch, and Dustin then pulls out an amazing series of leg kicks to the calf of Conor, to the right calf of Conor, and that really do their damage. Because what ends up happening is that those leg kicks accumulate, and in the second round, Conor's leg can't take any more kicks, and then Dustin goes in for the kill and just goes full on frenzy. He smells blood and he goes for it, and he knocks Conor McGregor out in the second. I could not believe what I was seeing, guys. I've never experienced such a shock in watching MMA before. Man, what an amazing performance by Dustin, and wow, he was in the zone. Man, just the way I screamed, the way me and my friend just flipped out after seeing what we just saw. Man, that was crazy. It was just a highlight of my enjoyment watching UFC, of my experiences watching it. So it was a good time. Man, it was a good time. That co-main and main events really held up. Really exceeded our expectations even. Wow. So that's really kind of it for the world of MMA. But no, that's not really it. Man, it's never really it. What's gonna happen right now is that Dustin is fighting for the title. He's fighting for the belt that Khabib vacated. Khabib, the previous lightweight champion, has vacated. And Chandler just beat Hooker, both of whom are lightweights. So Chandler will now have to fight someone else, and in order to basically, hopefully, get to fight for the title. So what I think would happen is Dustin would fight Charles Oliveira, for the title. whoever wins gets to fight the winner of Gaethje and Chandler. That makes sense. That seems to be the fight to make. And guess what, guys? I know Habib is retired and he's promised his mother, but he can get her permission to come back for one more fight. And the only way I see him coming back is if Michael Chandler, the same Michael Chandler who knocked out Dan Hooker, just destroys Gaethje and then goes on to destroy the winner of Poirier versus Poirier Oliveira, and wins the title. And then he could call out Habib, and then he'd be basically a great force of, entering the UFC, just destroyed 3 of the top lightweights of all time, and he gets to call out Habib. And Habib might even oblige. Maybe he'll come back for another fight, but it's really just speculating right now. It's way too early to tell any of this, to really think about any of this, but still, we can speculate and we can hope. And Habib, he will always honor his parents. He will honor his mother's word. But, oh wait, there's no but here. It's like he will honor his mother's word, and he could possibly get his mother's permission to come back. And that's what a lot of us are hoping for, but most of all, what Dana White is hoping for. The UFC president, Dana White, is really hoping for Habib to come back because he just wants to make that, he wants to milk that cash cow. Habib brings in a lot of green, and boy, does Dana love green. And I'm not talking about plants, by the way. So I really am excited to see what the future of mixed martial arts holds for us. Man, that's just the lightweight division, by the way. There's so many other divisions with so much exciting prospects and potential for greatness and amazing things to unfold. But really, that lightweight division is stacked all by itself. That makes the UFC worth paying for by itself. But seriously, I'm really looking forward to every single thing the UFC puts out. Well, not every single thing. When I say every single thing, I don't mean it very literally, because some things that are part of the UFC that I don't really watch. Like, for example, women's fighting. I don't watch women fight. I don't like watching that. Why do I want to see 2 girls beating each other to a pulp? I mean, that's a very brutal sport, and I can barely bear seeing men do that. But I find that exciting. I find that awesome, because that's a predominantly male thing to do, which is fighting. So women, fighting does not really interest me much. They could fight, if they want to. Sure, I'm not gonna stop them, but that's not really my cup of tea. Anyway, that's what's going on for MMA so far. Man, that is an interesting, trajectory it's on. So, I'm approaching my 30-minute limit mark. 30-minute mark, that is my limit. And man, look, guys, I really want to do this podcast longer, but I can't for a number of reasons. One of them being that 30 minutes is enough. 3 minutes a week is enough for you guys to hopefully listen to the entirety of it and leave your thoughts, in the comments, and really just enjoy and benefit from, most of all. So making it more than 3 minutes is just, a chore for you guys to listen to, because who wants to listen to me rant all day? That's one reason. And the other reason is, because university is coming up, and I started out this channel wanting to be consistent. I really want to be consistent and uploading at least weekly. I don't want to upload twice a week, because right now I do have the time. I'm just coming off of a 1 month holiday where I had a lot of free time. I just really don't want to really be inconsistent as I get into my university days, because the spring semester is coming up and I'm going to have to study and work hard on that. And I really don't want to be, inconsistent in saying that, I did two episodes per week before, but now I'm only doing 1 because of university. I don't want to do that, because, the work I do in uni will really take over from here. So I'm just going to do 1 episode per week, even while I'm in uni. Hopefully I'll be able to put out something, even though I'll be busy, but I'll definitely have enough time, or I'll make enough time to make at least a 30-minute episode each and every week. That's what I hope to do. So, with that said, this was the Candlelight Podcast, and I really enjoy speaking, expressing my thoughts and hopefully benefiting people through doing that. And I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I really hope you come back for more. And once again, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. See you guys in the next one. Peace.